versus Brenda Hoopla challenge. Oh!
Hello everyone, today we're going to look at the topic of faith, and we start off with a verse that Paul wrote to the people in Galatia, and he writes the following in verse 26 of chapter 3. So in Christ Jesus you are all sons and daughters of God through faith. Now I think that many of you have been in this situation, maybe more than once, where your parents might have gone out for an evening and they had to organise a babysitter. And depending on who would come around, you probably thought, woohoo, this is going to be fun, or, oh my goodness, not that person, please. But in any case, you've been left in the care of someone else for some time. And Paul writes in his letter to the Galatians that God sent the law as a babysitter for them until they were mature. And the law was filled with all kinds of rules. However, as any good parent would make sure that they would have a good babysitter to come around, someone they can trust, they can rely on. They wouldn't just pick a random person from the street. And so is God's law in itself. When he gave it to the people of Israel, it's good. It's not wrong at all, it's good. And they still give us good guidelines on how to live with one another. Don't steal, don't kill, don't lie, have a day off to rest, look after the weak and the vulnerable in society. They're actually wholesome guidelines for ourselves and for the people that we live with. And without those guidelines, and we find many of those rules and laws back in modern day society laws, it would be pretty chaotic in the world. Nevertheless, quite a few people don't like rules and laws, and I know that quite a few young people don't particularly like them, and they feel they're not free, they're limited by these rules, and they say, I can't wait till I'm grown up so I can set my own rules and I don't have to listen to those of my teachers, of my parents, etc. However, Paul carries on, and then he tells God's people that they didn't need the law to babysit them anymore. So how can that be? Because that sounds like a contradiction, doesn't make sense. Well, Jesus came and gave his life for them. And when they trusted Jesus and had faith, they were considered more mature and didn't need those laws anymore, those rules. And when you have faith in Jesus, you are God's child. And Paul writes that we are even one with Christ. However, you may still need a babysitter or someone to take care of you or help you along in your faith journey, as that is part of the journey of life. And as we already said, God's laws help us to live well with one another. But that's not what Paul means. Some people at the time thought that by trying to keep all of God's laws and rules, they could earn God's love. But the reality is that many of God's laws we just can't keep perfectly because we make mistakes. And that's why Jesus came and gave his life, to be the perfect sacrifice for our mistakes. Simply because God knows that we aren't perfect, but he loves us regardless so very much. And because of Jesus' sacrifice, we have become part of God's family. We become sons and daughters of God. And the writer of the letter to the Hebrews puts in chapter 10, he puts it in this way. For by this one sacrifice of Jesus, God forever made perfect those who are being made holy. So, through Christ, we are made perfect and holy, worthy of being sons and daughters of God. And after you've put your faith in Jesus and believe he has made this sacrifice for you, you start to grow in a different type of faith. It's a faith that shows that you are God's child, and you start to behave like one, you are changed from the inside out. And you try to do the right thing, not because you have to or because you're told to, but because you want to. As the writer to the Hebrews put it, God will put his laws in your hearts and he will write them in your mind. And so they become part of who you are. And you care about what God says to you, not just when you're in church, because our faith is not just for the Sunday. It's a life-transforming faith for every day of the week. And you become more mature in your faith. And you grow and trust in God throughout time, with moments in which you will fall down. You'll mess up. And you will, no doubt about that. And the Bible is full of examples of those people who are on their journey of faith and they mess up big time. So we are in pretty good company, really. And we can trust that God will be there every step of the way to pick you up again and again and again. And because Jesus sacrificed, he does that. And through that, you will grow in your faith with the help of God himself. And where are you in your faith journey? What kind of faith is God inviting you to today? Is it the kind of faith in Jesus that makes you his son or his daughter? Is it a type of faith that will impact your life for the better and those around you? And I'd like to encourage you to go on that journey with God because he loves you to bits, each one of us, and it's so definitely worth it. So I hope you have a good time talking this through together amongst yourselves, and take care. Bye.